Why Tesla can't be stopped, or more accurately, why it will be absolutely the number one car company, not just among EVs, but overall in the world, definitely by 2035. I'm Brian. Welcome to My Tesla Weekend. This is, of course, condensed from it might be the live one on Friday on the second channel, My Tesla Live, or it could be the condensed version that goes out over the weekend on My Tesla Weekend. You know, it's whichever one you're watching. You know what channel you're on. So why Tesla can't be stopped? So we went to Fully Charged. I was asked to host a panel, and they assigned me the topic, what stops Tesla from being the market leader by 2035? And we thought it would be recorded, but it wasn't. So Randy, who is co-authoring a book with Lars, graciously recorded it with his iPhone, but he did so from about 8 feet away from the speakers, so the sound is very distorted, but the content is good. So I figured I would share all the research that went into putting this panel together so you could get an idea. So to summarize, before we get into it, there's 4 things that will guarantee that Tesla is the number one car company by 2035. In addition to the fact that all cars are going to be EVs, the big thing is batteries, factories, the margin, and agility. That's it. So if you just wanted the bullet points, thanks for tuning in. So let's talk about those. Batteries, man. What a bottleneck, huh? Rivian, Tesla, GM prep for predicted shortage of EV battery production materials. Yeah, man, you just can't get batteries. You just can't get them. Except, kinda you can. Tesla battery supply chain diversification yields positive results. Because I don't know if you know this, but the S and X use one kind of battery. The 3 and Y use a different form factor entirely, and different chemistries depending on the model, and they come from different suppliers. And Martin said, for the first time in several years, the company has enough battery supply for both its automotive and energy businesses. So there is a battery shortage, just not affecting Tesla. They've long bought from Panasonic, but they've diversified to CATL and LG Chem. Tesla will change the type of battery cells it uses in all standard range cars. Because, you know, nickel and cobalt can be difficult to get, so why not use LFP? Get those from somebody who's really good at making them. Seems like a good idea to me. CATL, biggest in the world. I've got 2 rival articles on this with different numbers, but they're about the same. CATL makes something like 1/3 of the world's lithium batteries, followed by LG, Panasonic, BYD, SK Innovations, and Samsung, and so on. And the numbers vary depending on which chart you use. They're all kind of estimates. This one's a little bit older, but a little bit prettier. CATL, Panasonic, and LG make up 70% of the world's lithium batteries. Now, CATL provides all the lithium iron phosphate batteries presently, or about all LFP batteries, for the SR and some of the SR Plus models. So that's good. Tesla gets them from the world leader in making them. Panasonic, as you know, is the joint venture in Nevada. Great. And also provides the Japanese-made cells for the models S and X. And LG provides the premium batteries for Shanghai, the performance and long range, and also in Europe for Berlin. But where does Berlin get their other batteries from? I mean, BYD, we haven't heard much from them. Samsung doesn't make any batteries for Tesla yet. So let's think about that. How are we getting all these batteries? Samsung is building a pilot production line to build the 4680. Now, if they're building tabless 4680s, there is precisely one customer who will buy them. And they are building a factory, and they are going to be making 4680s. Samsung is back in the picture. So add this slice to the pie. And then who else we got? Panasonic will also be making the 4680s. And BYD is already supplying Tesla with blade batteries for the standard range vehicles coming out of Berlin. So back over here, If these three are 70%, 77, 82% of battery makers globally sell to Tesla. That's why there's no battery crunch at Tesla, which is pretty exciting. But you know who's not on this list? I wonder who's missing. Tesla's got many options. You can kind of pick and choose sometimes. Who's missing is Tesla themselves. They've got a battery factory in Texas. They've got another one at Cato Road. It's a pilot line, but it still produces. They've got permits to build one at the Fremont factory. And the Berlin factory, theirs should have come online around the end of this year, but it looks like the equipment might be being shipped back to Texas to take advantage of the IRA credit, of the big EV push. They'll still get a battery factory. So who's missing from that list is Tesla themselves, and they will soon be certainly a top 10 producer, probably a top 4 or 5 producer, pretty quickly. But getting onto that list is tough because all of the targets above you are moving targets. Daniel points out that the Panasonic 4680 new battery is a 5-tab design, not tabless, but more tabs. Rather than oops, all tabs, it's 5, which would allow them to produce 4680s, presumably for stationary storage, possibly lower drain applications like a standard range, and also possibly sell them to other companies as well. Still, diversification, it all helps. So let's talk about the factories. There was this great legend in the early days of Tesla Q saying, Tesla's in the lead in EVs today because no one else is trying. As soon as the big dogs flip the switch, they've already got all the factories. All they have to do is just make EVs instead. That sounds very simple. Too simple. Yeah, so it turns out it's not that easy. GM bragging about this factory. Oh, look at this. We've got the Factory Zero. It's so great. It's dedicated. We retooled the whole thing for $1 kajillion. Look at the size of this place. So they have to retool all these factories or build new ones. Retooling at $1 billion a factory, or 2 or 3, gets real pricey in a hurry. Because, Tesla only has 2 to 4 factories today making cars, depending how you count it. Berlin and Texas are still ramping. These guys have a lot of factories. Ford has 60 assembly plants around the world and only makes 6 million cars. That's 100,000 cars per factory. And this place, built in 1985, they love it. We're so proud of this factory. It's made more than 3 million vehicles over the years. 1985. Yeah, that's 100,000 cars a year. This mega monster makes 100,000 cars a year. Oh, guys, you're in trouble. Tesla's making 1 million cars per factory. At least that's the target. Shanghai's run rate is already over that. The Fremont run rate is approaching that, and it's an old design like this. Texas and Berlin are going to blow that out of the water. You're going to need 10 times as many factories, and if you're spending $1 billion or $2 billion per factory to retrofit, you've got a problem. Ford to build new plants in Tennessee and Kentucky in $11 billion investment. That's great. It's going to create 11,000 jobs. It's a problem. Just the Lightning line cost $1 billion. And it's only got a capacity of, 160,000 cars? Units? Trucks? The investment includes $7 billion from Ford and $4.5 billion from SK Innovations for the batteries. Now you notice, when Tesla does their joint ventures to build batteries, nobody's asking for upfront cash anymore because they know Tesla's going to buy them. We just have to build it. They'll buy the batteries. We know it. They need it. The commitment from these guys is less certain. Are you really going to spend $1 billion times 60? I don't think you can do that. Volkswagen now officially runs Europe's biggest electric car plant, the one in Zwickau. Look at that. It's big, I guess. But again, it cost them $2.3 billion, I think, to retrofit this to be an EV factory. And even they can't get their production speed up to what Tesla's was before they took it down for retooling and sped up even more. And again, you've got how many factories you need to upgrade? Dozens at least, at a price of billions per factory. VW goes ahead with a $2 billion new factory to produce upcoming Trinity high-efficiency long-range electric car. So those factories you had aren't an asset. They're a liability. They're holding you back. You can't just put in some new parts and go. You need a whole new philosophy. The philosophy is the big problem, but the tech is completely different. You're in trouble, guys. You don't have the money. Where are you going to get the money to retrofit all these factories? Versus Tesla, $19 billion cash on hand as of last quarter. And it's like, well, yes, but if a factory is, $3-4 billion, they'll eat into that very quickly. Right, but let's look historically. The cash on hand hasn't really dipped while they were building the previous two factories, which are mostly done. They're never actually done. A Tesla factory is a work in progress. It is a living thing. It is always evolving. If they could do that without any input, without any financial gain coming out of Austin and Berlin, what's going to happen when those are cranking and making money and we're expanding more in new markets, on new parts of the existing land, expanding Berlin and Texas? They could either announce 2 new factories, and this number would stay the same, and it would actually continue climbing because now we've got output from Berlin and Texas. Or they could announce 3 factories, 4 factories, and this number would stay flat. So, how are they going to get there? Yeah, it's a tough call. It's a tough call. So to kind of summarize the point of the 2035 number that was arbitrarily chosen by the folks at Fully Charged, the reason Tesla's going to be number 1 is because they're actually planning to. They've actually got the roadmap in place to get not to 8 million or 10 million vehicles, but 20 million. So there is a non-zero chance that Tesla will make 20 million cars by 2030 or 2035, and a 0% chance that Ford or GM or Volkswagen or Toyota will make 20 million cars, because that's not even their plan. Their plan is to electrify 70, 80, maybe even 100% of their fleet by then. It's not to double their capacity, double their entire market. They don't have that plan. You can't get there without even trying. So the next part is the margin. You can't be number 1 without a margin. You have to make money. If you were the biggest car company in the world but lost money on every car, you would be the brokest company in the world. You would die very quickly. Porsche says EVs will soon be more profitable than its gas-powered cars. They're less profitable. In fact, they could be losing money, but they're definitely losing money because Porsche buyers are buying electric ones instead of gas ones, which have lower margins. That sounds problematic. Yeah. Until recently, automakers had lamented the thin profit margins on EVs, which are more costly to manufacture and have historically held less appeal. They're more costly to manufacture. They're so simple. They shouldn't be more costly to manufacture, especially if you can get a deal on the batteries. If only you could get the best price on batteries, think how much better position you'd be in. So let's see, the cheapest Porsche they make, 65 grand. The cheapest Taycan is, what, 87? So it's $20,000 more expensive, and they make less money on it. That's interesting. And I don't honestly believe they make money on it, because you can get the same car trimmed out to 200 grand. And some people do, and that's factored into the total profit. So even with those $200,000 buyers buying every bell and whistle they don't need, they're still less profitable than the gasoline versions. It's a problem. This is a great one. Why GM loses money on every Chevy Bolt. Now this article is out of date. It's from 2017. This is back when they were selling for a higher price. They were losing money on every Bolt made. So what'd they do? Drop the price. Oh. Okay. Yeah, drop it by $6,000. Hey, if you're going to lose money, make up for it in volume. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. Without a margin, you can't build factories. All you're doing is cannibalizing your own sales. Ford CFO says inflation has erased Mustang Mach-E profits, but isn't hurting demand for new vehicles. No, it's not hurting demand. Selling cars at a loss? you can get some good customers that way. Now, mind you, what's hurting demand is your dealerships are kind of the devil. Yeah, so that's not good. And Ford F-150 Lightning versus the Mach-E. Which one's better? Well, if I had to pick one today, I'd probably pick the Lightning. I think it's the better deal. Because if you're losing money on this car, you are losing so much money on the Lightning. A base price of $42,000. Oh, your battery probably costs $15,000. Without the margins, you're going to go broke. The Lightning is their bread and butter. It's what pays the bills. It's what keeps the lights on. It's what allows them to spend $1 million a day on advertising. That's a problem. You need a margin. The VW ID4 isn't profitable, and it's because of the battery. This is a problem. Now, I mentioned earlier that the battery production equipment is being taken out of Berlin and moved back to the US because the tax incentives are so strong. You know, the Berlin factory was supposed to get tax incentives. Tesla had applied for them. And then they read the fine print, the details, and said, this is ridiculous. We can't do it. Because there was a bunch of crazy stuff. One of the things they said is, well, it can't be a battery that you already make somewhere else. It's like, well, okay, so we get nothing from you. It's fine. You'll still get cars. They'll still be priced right. But the jobs are coming to the U.S. quicker. So, good job. So Volkswagen isn't profitable on their EVs. Kia is barely profitable on their cars at all. I don't know about their EVs. I assume they lose a bit of money. Otherwise, they'd sell them in higher volume. Ford's not making money. Without margin, what are you doing? Tesla reports a huge increase in profit margins as vehicle production ramps. Now, you guys might not know this, but 27.9% automotive margin is ridiculous. That's magical. That means that if they need a demand lever, they could cut the price of their cars by 10 grand and still be the most profitable on a per unit basis of any car maker, apart from maybe like Ferrari or Lamborghini. It is a moat that appears difficult to cross. So let's talk about the also-rans. Let's talk about the competition. Let's talk about today's big dogs and why they're not going to get, well, they can't get to 20 million. They're not planning to, but why they're going to lose out and be second place or worse behind Tesla. Toyota is ramping up its EV production, vowing to release 30 new cars by 2030. A lot of those are going to be hybrids. And they're investing how much? $17 billion. But again, that would only, even if they get to 100% electric and don't lose sales in the process and survive with the margins, that's only going to get them to 8 to 10 million. GM, our path to an electric future. Come on, Mary. Less talk, more action. They want to. Reduce battery costs. This whole thing reads like somebody who's about to do an IPO. It does not strike me as a serious plan. And again, even if they were to accomplish everything they want to accomplish, if execution is flawless and there are no headwinds, they're only going to get to 6 to 8 million units by ever. Because that's the plan. Volkswagen plans to invest $7 billion to build electric cars in North America. So they're actually expanding operations a bit. They're trying to take advantage of these big tax credits coming up and will offer 25 new EV models by 2030. Because if we know one thing that's universally true, it's that more models means more sales. That's why the Model T was such a failure. And by the way, eventually it was. Times did change, but Ford is still around. Their plan is not to. No one's planning to go past 10 million. That's just not in the cards. So who else have we got? So the big thing is agility. And not just agility, but actual agile product integration, development, and manufacturing. If you don't know what agile is, watch this video from Lars with Joe Justice, who is a powerhouse. And he has agreed to an interview. I just have to get my other machine back so I can actually do it. Joe worked there, and he would explain just how many little changes would take place. Sandy Munro's talked about it. Sandy Munro said at Ford, if we could get in 4 or 5 design changes in a year, we were doing good. Tesla can sometimes implement 4 to 5 design changes in a week. And major changes, they can do 30 in 6 months. If you look at the early Model S, the frunk was the size of a lunchbox. And every few months it would get a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. The door handle, the presenting door handle mechanism was ridiculously complicated, but it worked. It got simpler and simpler until it was just a module. Just a very simple module. And everything they do is like that. When the Super Bottle came out in the Model S, I was impressed. It was more efficient than any other heating and cooling system in an EV at the time. It was amazing. And I said, that's the future. Sit back and rest on your laurels, guys. And then Sandy gets the next car. Super Bottle's gone. Thing of the past. Ancient history. We're all octavalve now, baby. And it's even better still. No one else can move at the speed of Tesla. Tesla Agile Development, product management at its best. What Elon taught me about agile startups and why we're all doing it wrong. Well, there it is, and there you go. This has been the condensed version. If you want to go back and see the whole uncut 30-ish minute version on the second channel, go to My Tesla Live, link in the description, all that good stuff. Huge thanks, as always, to my Patreons who get early access, bonus content, a bunch of other good stuff, and access to my 11-year production prediction tracker, the $10 level and above. So, what did I miss or misunderstand? Leave me all your thoughts, your wisdom, your juicy ideas, your blinding brilliance into them in comments below. And stay tuned, stay juicy, and I can't wait to hear from you clever robots on the other side.